What's going on, Tamers? East here, and with the EX09 Versus Monsters set releasing relatively soon for the Digimon Card Game, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at some of the major archetypes introduced and that got support in this set. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Abadamon and Negamon cards, but if you're interested in some of the other archetypes out there, definitely check out the channel for more. The Abadamon and Negamon cards are pretty cool in that they provide a way to play the game that's really never been explored before, and so because of that, I'm really excited to dive in. Let's take a look. So if you've ever played decks like 7 Great Demon Lords or the Royal Knights decks, then the Negamon cards might seem a little bit reminiscent in that you use the egg as a way to reduce the play cost of your Digimon on board, where your Negamon egg is kind of like the key to the deck, and you can play down cards at cost -2 or more depending on how many Negamon trait cards you have in trash over the course of the game. The thing is, you can't evolve over this guy, and he can't be trashed from the breeding area in any way. Instead, whenever you play a card, you immediately take him from the breeding area and then you just slot him underneath the card, like so. Additionally, in Inheritance, he's going to allow you to redirect your attacks into a Digimon with Negamon in its text somewhere. So basically, once you get him onto the field, you can basically force attacks into your Digimon. Taking a look at the level 3s and 4s, these are pretty much card accumulation or resource cards, and the Soundbird mod being your simple search, and then the Eismon scatter mode being a discard and then draw 2. Now, the Eismon, the regular version here, is really interesting because it's a rush card that also has collision. Well, you think that might be great for just like becoming really aggressive. Because he has that collision effect, you're going to force Digimon on your opponent's board, if they have any, to actually block, and without piercing, he just becomes a way to manage your opponent's board. The Rareramon, in my opinion, is one of the keystones of the deck, allowing you to de-digivolve whenever you basically play or evolve into him. But more importantly, on deletion, you can play a card with Negamon in its text from your hand directly that's level 4 or lower whenever he's into the trash. And so, the cool thing about this is that the more Negamon specifically, the more level 2s you have in your trash or in Digimon sources on the board, the higher that level you can play out is. So for example, if you have 2, you can play level 5, and if you have 4 Negamon Digi-Eggs in the battlefield or in the trash, you can play level 6. All of the effects in this deck work in the vein to get down to your Abadamon as quickly as possible, where you can either play him using the Rareramon effect that I just mentioned before, or you can use the new Assembly keyword trait to play him down at cost -6, which makes him a 5 cost level 6 down on the board. And then once you do that, if you've got 4 Negamon in the trash or in sources somewhere on the board, you can put a Abadamon core into the breeding area. Additionally, Abadamon's got some really cool removal effects based on the level of the Digimon you put underneath him at the end of every single turn. And then the Abadamon core really is the boss of the deck, having effectively keyword soup. It's kind of hard to see because of my fat head is blocking it here, but he's got like all these keywords in collision, piercing, sec +1, reboot, and blocker, in addition to some other incredible effects, including the new keyword wind moving. So when a Digimon would move from the breeding area to the battle area, he has an effect that activates. So my early takeaway from the cards this deck is that they seem really useful and interesting. However, players are going to be trying to optimize how to get their level 2 Negamon eggs from the breeding area into the field or the trash as quickly as possible. Where once you have 4 of these guys just somewhere other than the breeding area, your deck becomes way stronger. Cards like the Analog Youth might be really useful as a way to cycle cards into the trash quickly to be reused later on, and then also to hatch eggs more quickly as well whenever your Digimon are deleted. Like you can imagine with some of the later game plays where, you know, you just hard drop a Eismon or even a Rareramon, and you just put the Negamon up underneath one of these guys here. They're going to get the de-digivolve, and then if these guys can somehow be taken out, I'm sure there's some option cards that might be really useful in this case. You can just pop him and then just hard play the Abadamon here in such a case. The Abadamon says that if there's 4 Negamons somewhere, either in the trash or on the board, you can just put the Abadamon core into the breeding area. Once you do this, if an opponent attacks, you can use the Abadamon's breeding effect and then move it into the battle area. He's going to allow you to take 3 cards and put them up underneath him that have Negamon in text, and there's some really interesting effects like the Rareramon giving you the ability to unsuspend when an attack target is changed, the Negamon allowing you to change attack targets, and then a multitude of other effects like +1000 DP. Actually, maybe it's just those 2. A multitude of 1. And if I didn't mention it before, the Abadamon core, that effect of when moving from the breeding area to the battle area, is also going to delete all of your opponent's Digimon of the lowest level. What's great about that is that even if the attacker who forced him to come out into the battle area did not get deleted, he has redirection in this case thanks to some of the inheritance cards, but also he just has blocker inherently. Also, if the Abadamon here himself manages to survive turn after turn, at the end of every single turn, yours and your opponent, you can put a card from trash with Negamon in its text underneath him, and then delete one of your opponent's Digimon who has the same level as the card you slotted underneath. So So I mentioned that the Abadamon core can get that effect when he's moving, but it's also just on play and on Digivolve as well. So if you manage in the early game to just like evolve into this guy, sure, you still get the same effects. Additionally, if you can manage to slot underneath a Raremon whenever you play him, again, his effect lets you slot 3 cards, so it's pretty simple here. Whenever his collision forces an attack target to change, you can unsuspend him, and he has Sec +1, so that's going to be 2 checks, and then you can just do it again, that's 4, and then if Abadamon's around, that's 5. So you can see how getting to this kind of state right here seems pretty powerful for the deck. So this is just a really quick overview of the Abadamon and Negamon cards, but I'm sure there is some crazy stuff that players are cooking up. And if you've got some ideas that you want to share them with the rest of the folks out there, definitely put them in the comments below. I'll be reading there as well. As a player who's actually tried out some control decks really recently, I've become really interested in them, and so this might be one of the pet decks I have for EX9. Anyways, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.